Okay guys, I am back from the first Warhammer The Old World tournament held in Warhammer World, the birth and home of all things Games Workshop. I had an absolutely stellar event. It was a 2-day tournament which included 5 games. Today's video I'm going to go through the event itself, how I felt, the games that I had, the things that were good, the things that maybe weren't so good, some standout units from my army, and answer the question, would I go again? So that's what we're going to do in today's video. So if that's something that interests you, stick around and enjoy this video. One of the things I do really like, this is the ticket you get when you get in the door and register. It is a nice lanyard. It contains the Warhammer The Old World logo. Get a really nice badge, and on the back is the event of the day. So you literally have day 1, full schedule, day 2, full schedule. I think this is really nice. Everyone knew exactly where they needed to be at all times, because it was literally on the back of their badge. Such a simple thing that I've never seen any event organizers do before. So for me, this is a big thumbs up. So I went to this event, it was 1,500 points, and I took my Bretonnians. That's why I've got a couple of Pegasus Knights and my Bretonnian Lord on his Royal Pegasus in front of me here. To give you guys an idea of what I took, we're gonna jump straight into the games that I played. So like I said, I played 5 games across 2 days. Those games were Tomb Kings, Orcs and Goblins, Dwarves, Beastmen, and then Chaos, Warriors of Chaos. So I'm gonna go through those games very quickly to give you guys an idea of how those games went. So we started with Tomb Kings. Deploying against an opponent, I actually knew this guy from previously working in Games Workshop. He's a really nice guy, so I was pleased to have a nice friendly face across the table from me for game 1. He had a pretty traditional looking Tomb Kings army, you know, Necro Sphinx. He had his Hierophant on a Bone Dragon. He had a couple of other characters in there, some blocks, scorpions, you know, the usual good stuff that you would include in a Tomb Kings army. I deployed my army as I traditionally do, with my 3 blocks of lance in the middle, Grail Knights, 2 units of Knights of the Realm, hiding my unit of peasantry off at the back because they're just a compulsory unit that I don't really need, and then obviously Pegasus on both flanks, and my Lord would deploy on one of those 2 flanks wherever he is needed. He deployed it on the left flank from this, and literally from kickoff of the game, those units ran amok. Pegasus ran up the right flank, Pegasus ran up the left flank with the Duke, and the first thing my Duke did kill in this tournament was a Necro Sphinx. He ran straight in, killing blowed. The guy didn't stand a chance, and he literally just from there rolled through that flank, continuing to destroy as he went, killing a Tomb Prince in a unit and then the unit that he was in, and then finishing off by killing off the Hierophant on the Dragon, which then of course caused his army to crumble, and then it was a quick and easy job to mop up the rest. So that was pretty much a max score game for me. I think I lost 1 unit of Pegasus Knights to a Chariot, a squadron of Chariots, and other than that everything else was left on the table at the end of the game. So that was a big victory for me and a good start to their tournament for my Duke on Royal Pegasus, definitely making his 400 point cost back in that particular game. Game 2 was set up against a Orcs and Goblins player, but they were taking the troll mob. So there wasn't an Orc or a Goblin, except for a couple at the back of the board hiding a wizard. In this army, he had quite a lot of trolls, a couple of big blocks of trolls, a couple of individual trolls. He had the Troll Hag, he had a Giant, which he used the Troll King miniature as a Giant, which I thought was really cool to match in with his army. And it was definitely a menacing sight to look across the table from. Lots of vomits, which do bad things to armor, lots of high strength attacks, which do bad things to armor. So it was definitely a little bit more menacing going in. I took this a little bit more like kind of cagey. But my setup generally doesn't really change. My 3 blocks of lances went into the middle and kind of goaded them forward a little bit with, of course, my Pegasus on the flanks, and they did their normal thing. So in this game, I feel that in this particular game, I played extremely well in the movement phase. I basically outmaneuvered the trolls, to the nth degree. There was very little that he could do. Even at one point, basically making a bunch of charges in his backboard, but had to leave a unit of knights out exposed. And instead of just leaving them there to be charged, I just marched them right past his unit, out of their arc of sight. I was like, why would I feed you a free unit? The Duke then went on to, of course, do his thing, killing the Troll Hag, killing the Giant, and mopping up a whole bunch of trolls as well, definitely making his points back in that game as well, breaking the back of the enemy. And after that, it was just a case of mopping up troll units with knights. It was a very good game. Hard fought, but at the end of the game, I don't really know what I lost. Not a lot. I might have gotten nearly max points on that. The trolls are just good, but hitting them in the flank with things like Pegasus Knights and of course that Duke running amok was just awesome. So game 3 was played against Mr. Tim Raymond, who is a regular on the channel and someone who is very adept at using his dwarves. Now, we have played a bunch of games previously with my Bretonnians v his dwarves, and I have managed to win every single game. Now, the consequences of this were that Timothy was a little bit more intimidated by Bretonnians than maybe he should have been going into this event. Therefore, we meticulously planned his list around dealing with Bretonnians so that if he came up against them in the tournament, he would feel a lot more confident and he would be able to deal with them. Hence, dropping a couple of units and taking some good bolt throwers to pierce ranks and delete armor. The problem was the Bretonnian player he came up against in this event was me. And he truly horsed me off the table on the third game. At least he did on turn 1. Turn 1, he deleted my Grail Knights and my level 4 straight off the bat. The entire center of my line was crushed, crippled, and removed, which is very disheartening for me. Obviously, I wasn't too pleased about this at the time, but it is what it is. It is a game. And from then on in, I did very much fight tooth and nails. And once again, I think it was a really good game for me. I think I played very strategically. I managed to get my Pegasus Knights in behind his lines, get rid of all of his war machines, and then just start basically outmaneuvering his slow dwarven blocks, deciding where I wanted to hit them and when and with what units to try and overwhelm them, even though they're super tough and super strong and they hit really hard. It's just I wanted to hit them with kind of maximum force and delete units at a time instead of trying to piecemeal, this unit into there, that unit into there. No, destroy that unit, or if I move up to the next unit, destroy that unit, and so on and so forth. So I did manage to claw back quite a lot of points out of that game, but in the end, Timothy had done enough to secure a victory, and it was a well-deserved game. He did very, very well. The Bretonnian Lord managed to kill his Quarrelers and both his Bolt Throwers off the hill, which is kind of his primary focus, is to delete the maximum threats. And once the Quarrelers were gone and the Bolt Throwers were gone, he did not have any 360 degree units that could threaten me. So then, like I said, I could just play into the arcs of the slow-moving dwarves, and he had a nightmare trying to catch me and slow me down from there. But he did win, and it was well-deserved, so well done, Mr. Timothy. That concluded day 1 of the event. 2 wins for me and 1 loss, and for Timothy, a solid 3 wins. So we were quite happy going into day 2. Mr. Chin also obviously accompanied us to the event. He took his High Elves, which were one of the most beautiful armies at the event. He managed to smash through his first game, his Phoenix pretty much devouring an entire Warriors of Chaos army, and then unfortunately the next 2 games were losses for him, but he had a great time doing it nonetheless. Okay, so we started day 2 off with me facing off against Beastmen and Timothy facing off against Tomb Kings. Now, the Tomb Kings were a different beast altogether for Mr. Timothy. He had to fight 2 Necrosphinxes, and unfortunately his poor dwarves could not deal with them. He fired bolt throwers and tried to take them down, but those fast-moving flying constructs with loads of wounds, really tough, ended up just basically smashing through a huge quantity of his dwarves, which caused him to lose that game. So that was unfortunate, but if I had beaten Timothy, I would have had to fight that army in the next round, and I don't know whether I could have done it. I think I was better equipped to deal with it than he was, but that guy was still a very good player. He was top table last round, so there was no jokes there. As for me, I played a Beastman player. Now, Beastmen were one of those armies that in the old days of Warhammer Fantasy were not particularly powerful. In events, this to give you an example, in events, in tournaments back in the day, they used to be comped armies. So some armies would get a little bit more points than others just to try and bring them to balance with other armies. So obviously Warriors of Chaos and Lizardmen and stuff were super powerful. So when you played a 2,000 point event, they had 2,000 points. Beastmen were the most underpowered. They got 2,600 points when they used to play. So they weren't rarely seen in tabletop games. It was a kind of a sad thing because I had a Beastman army back in the day and I used to do quite well with them. But yes, having said that, fought this guy, and Beastmen are unbelievable in this event. They're just so cool. And it's definitely an army that I will be kind of polishing off soon and getting ready for the tabletop. This guy was good. We had a really good, strong, solid game. We were playing the mission where we had to capture the center of the table. He had his Gorgon deploy on the same side as my Bretonnian Duke, which threw me off a little bit because originally I was like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to deal with that Gorgon first thing, and then I'm going to start rolling his flank like I always do with all of my things. Then I found out he had Killing Blow and Monstrous Killing Blow as well, which scared the bejesus out of me. I was like, okay, that's something that could actually reach out and touch my Duke, so I decided to keep him away from them, I decided to run my Duke and Pegasus up the right flank and smash through some chariots. The reason I decided to smash through his chariots was because his chariots were 2 normal chariots, and then his chariot was level 4 on it, which was quite a powerful thing. And I expected to munch through these chariots very quickly, like literally just smash them out of the way in a turn or two, and then continue to roll through his army. They were much more resilient than I gave them credit for, and because they are not infantry and not monsters, none of my killing blow stuff works for my Duke. I literally have to take every single wound off, and let me tell you, it was a chore chewing through them, but I did in the end manage to chew through all of the chariots and then start working my way through some of his units and his Gorgon, but it cost me dearly. He managed to fight through and destroy so many units, wiping out a unit of Pegasus, destroying some of my units, and by the end of the game, it was pretty much just my Duke left on the table, fighting off against a much reduced unit of Gore, 2 Dragon Ogres in the middle, and then his Gorgon on the left, which was on the objective. Now, I mistakenly thought that all I had to do to negate him, the objective, was to be on the objective myself. That's all I thought we had to do. I didn't know unit strength played into it, so that was poor planning on me. I would have probably charged the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth at that stage because the Gorgon had been much reduced in wounds, so I don't know if his user strength was that high. I don't think there was enough Gore. So if I had have reduced and killed the 2 Dragon Ogres in the middle, I could have potentially won the game, because basically whoever took the objective at the end of that game won. So it was a 200 point swing from that, and I lost the game by 100 points. So whoever got that objective at the end would have won the event. I was like, went for glory, decided to charge in and took out his Gorgon, killing that. Felt quite pleased with myself, thought it was going to be a draw or a minor victory, and then came to realize that it was based on unit strength, so he claimed the objective, got the extra 200 points, and claimed the victory. I was devastated, but what can you do? That's the price you pay. Lots of things I learned about Beastmen in that army made me very excited to try them out myself. So big thumbs up for Beastmen for me. Okay, from there we went into the final game and we played a Warriors of Chaos army. It was one of those kind of traditional Warriors of Chaos armies with a few twists, of course. He did have his giant Chaos Lord on Manticore flying around. He had a big giant unit of Nurgle Knights, very threatening. He had a bunch of units of Khorne Forsaken. And then an interesting thing that he took was he took 3 units of Dragon Ogres, but they were just 1-man unit, and it was just the champion. And these were quite powerful, quite small, quite maneuverable units, which were quite tough to deal with and get through. It was definitely kind of a threatening. He also took a Chimera. That was awful. That was just crap. He hated it. He hated that he took it. He complained about it to no end. It only has 4 wounds, no really good save. He was like, I should have had another unit of Knights or something else in there. So he hated that. So I had to oblige him and remove it with my Duke on basically turn 1. He came up and lanced it to death. And then I basically systematically started to work my way through his army, once again pulling it apart. As soon as I had Pegasus up both flanks and Knights in the middle, he had to break his line and bow to try and deal with things. And no one is planned for that, I don't think. No one really knows what to do when that happens. And luckily for me, I managed to get quite a ridiculously nice charge off. I got a unit of Pegasus Knights and my Grail Knights in against his Nurgle Knights. And I got Plague of Rust off on them. So with all my lances doing -2, it means it was -4 to their armor save. And even before my Pegasus got to attack, I managed to grind through and munch through his entire unit of Nurgle Knights, and then overrunning into his already fleeing Sorcerer Lord on horse, who then continued to flee off the board. And from then on in, it was just a downward thing. Now, I will say about this gentleman that I did play in this game, although I thoroughly believe I played extremely well, and I think I basically wouldn't have changed any of the decisions that I did make, the poor guy had some of the most toxic dice rolls that I have ever seen happen in a game. And I am sorry from the bottom of my heart if he has a chance to watch this and he sees what I understand that me winning that game was not all down to my tactical brilliance. It was definitely something to do with your poor dice rolls as well. I think the game would have been a lot closer if the dice gods had not cursed you in that last game. But as it stood, he claimed no points off of me, and I got maximum 1,650 points off him for wiping out his army, killing his general, and capturing a standard. So that pushed me a little bit up. That made me finish the entire tournament with 2 losses and 3 wins. That's not how you do that. 2 losses and 3 wins landed me in a 60-man tournament at 11th. So I was very pleased with my final result. I don't honestly know if the game had have gone better. Like the game against Tim, if I had been more successful against Tim and been slightly pushed up, I don't think I would have done any better against the Tomb Kings. I think they would have still trashed me, and then the army after that would have been the same kind that I was fighting Tim against. So I don't know. It was another Bretonnian player. So Even though I lost against Tim, I think that made me have 2 better games after that. I got to play my Beastmen and I got to play that Warriors of Chaos game. So I don't think I would change any of the results that I did have. It was a thoroughly glorious event. Like I said, the Bretonnian Lord just did incredible work for the entire event. In the entire 5 games, he fought every big thing that existed in everybody's army. And in the whole process of that, he only lost a single wound. This guy is a monster. For anyone who doesn't know what he does or how he works, he have the virtue of heroism on him, which allows him to have killing blow and monstrous killing blow. He also has a 5+ regen because of a magic item, and obviously he's fighting monsters who usually are strength 5 or more, so his ward save is also a 5+. So as it sits standard, he has a 3-up armor with a 5+ ward save and a 5+ regeneration save. He has 5 attacks at weapon skill 7 because he's incredible. So he's hitting the majority of things, even though they're characters and heroes on 3s. And then when he rolls to wound, if he rolls a single 6, you get a ward save or you're dead. That's it. So most people have 5-up ward save, so there's a 2 out of 3 chance that you're about to lose your big scary monster. And most scary monsters don't have ward saves. They have lots of regen saves and sometimes good armor, but not a lot of them have ward saves. So he is incredible. Even me looking back on him now, I don't understand what I would do if he was deployed across the table from me. The maneuverability of this guy, backed up by 2 units of Pegasus Knights, having that 360 degree line of sight, being small enough to get in and amongst units, break up their lines, and then decide to charge wherever the hell they please with the 360 line of sight is incredible. This is the backbone of my force. Lots of people target the Grail Knights thinking that they are super important. They're not. I just like to pretend they are so that people get worried about them and they kind of forget about these guys. So absolutely loved the event. The ticket did include food. Food was pretty awful, to be honest. Kind of gross. Wasn't happy with that at all. If I could go back, I would just ignore the free food and I would just eat in Bugman's, because the Bugman's food is incredible. Hall of Miniatures is incredible. Not going to talk about the Hall of Miniatures. There's a bunch of new tables in there for like the old world. I don't want to talk about any of them because I don't want to ruin the surprise for anybody who's going to go to Warhammer World and see these beautiful tables. It was incredible. So to give you a sense of the feeling of the rooms, my final point in this video, hopefully it's not too long, you guys aren't too bored. The sense of just awesomeness that was in the room. Everybody that was there wasn't any new players there. It was everybody returning. Everybody that this was their favorite game 10 years ago. And they could find, it's like dusting off your old Nintendo 64 and putting in GoldenEye and hit on, having that screen pop up. It was so nice. Everybody was so enthusiastic. Everyone was so excited. So many different armies on display. Like the guys who were creating the game, the writers for the rules, the designers, took part and played in the event. So you're asking questions like, how's that rule supposed to work? I don't know, let's ask the guy who invented the rules. Oh yeah, it's kind of supposed to mean like this. Oh, okay, cool. And like they were just as excited and just as passionate as we were. And like I said, they sold out the event in, I think it was like 3 seconds. Honestly, 3 seconds they sold out the event. And they had over 200 people on the waiting list. So apparently, some information I got after the fact is that the only reason it was only 60 man is they didn't have enough sets of terrain for the old world to fill up the rest of the table. So hopefully when they see the success of this event and the kind of drive out there for people to want to play more old world, they will get to work creating more tables worth of old world scenery. And then we will have more, like the next year's version of this event hopefully will be a 200 person event, and we'll get to see even more awesome armies, and I will definitely return there if I can get a ticket and participate. I recommend all you guys go out there and try and take part in an old world event if you can, if there's one going on in your local area, whether it be a 1 day or a 2 day or whatever points limit. I promise you're gonna have a great time. If you haven't tried old world yet, then that's another thing I strongly recommend. It's just one of my favorite game systems of all time, and I think the return of it has definitely rekindled something in me of like love of gaming. I haven't really loved playing 40k and I haven't really loved playing Age of Sigmar over the last couple of years. So much rules bloat and so much complicated things in different phases that it generally just drives me, who considers myself a really casual player, away from them. I still enjoy a game, but with a very specific group of people who want to play the same way I do. But with this, I can pick up and play against anybody, and it's just so much fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this little synopsis of how my first Old World event went in Warhammer World. It will definitely not be my last. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. If you can figure out a way of killing this guy, what would you do to kill this Duke on Royal Pegasus? Have you guys figured out a way to do it? And if you have, please let me know in the comments below so that if I face one, I know what to do. Because right now, it scares the crap out of me. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end of the video. Make sure that you do subscribe so you don't miss out on all future uploads. If you enjoyed this, I want to get more behind the scenes content. I do a daily vlog on my Patreon, so if that's something that interests you, the link's in the description below for that. Although the link is to the left of me now, right of me now, because it's not below anymore. They changed the YouTube video around. So the description is somewhere around me. You can click on that, check out my Discord or my Patreon, get involved if you want to see more stuff and dictate what happens in the channel moving forward. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.